If you've clicked on this video, I'm sure by now you have heard of three things: Vince McMahon, the WWE, and the allegations against Vince McMahon in January of 2024. But it didn't always start off bad. You see, McMahon had a very interesting start leading up to his current downfall, disobeying his father. Up until the 1980s, there was no national wrestling company. Wrestling corporations were separated amongst different regions throughout the United States, and each wrestling promoter respected other promoters by staying within their jurisdiction. Now, they refused to cross over into another man's land until Vincent Kennedy McMahon came along. In 1982, Vince McMahon purchased Capital Wrestling Corporation from his father for $1 million. Just a year later, he went into business with the USA Network so that his shows could be watched nationwide. Vince McMahon's expansion infuriated other wrestling promoters who called and threatened Vince's dad because they were friends with Vince's dad and they didn't agree with how his son was doing business. But Vince, of course, did not care. He was adamant about monopolizing the wrestling industry by any means necessary. He continued to hire major wrestlers from other promotions like Hulk Hogan, Bobby Heenan, the Junkyard Dog, and Gene Okerlund. Now, he started to hold hostile takeovers, and he also outbid other promotions for TV time slots, and he threatened other promoters, and he blackballed cable operators, and he even convinced many of those promoters to close their wrestling corporations. Let's use for an example what he did to Stu Hart. He forced Stu Hart to close down his wrestling promotion for $1 million, but Vince only paid Stu $100,000. Now, although he only paid Stu $100K, Vince still got many of Stu's talent who were also his family members, such as Bret the Hitman Hart. Vince was on a roll, but he was a beast with it. WrestleMania 1 struggles. In 1985, there was no such thing as a WrestleMania type of event in the wrestling and sports entertainment industry. And Vince McMahon had only had his company for 3 years. He had a very low cash flow, and most of his money had been spent paying out contracts for wrestlers and buying out other wrestling promotions. When Vince presented the idea of WrestleMania, his financial advisors all urged him not to go through with the event. Hulk Hogan was the company's top star, but he wasn't exciting the crowds as much as he had before. His fame and gimmick were wearing thin, and the company didn't have another star to put in the face of the company. Vince hadn't even sold enough tickets for the show to cover the deposit for the theater showing the event on television. Now, with all the odds stacked against Vince, he decided to go ahead, take a chance, take a risk, and have the show. He hired a marketing firm who encouraged him to merge his wrestling with Hollywood. Now, Vince decided to call on the likes of Mr. T and Muhammad Ali, Bobby Martin, the Rockettes, Liberace, and Cyndi Lauper to make appearances at this event. In fact, the night before WrestleMania, Vince decided to send Hulk Hogan and Mr. T as a last-minute fill-in to host Saturday Night Live. Vince was adamant about making this event a success, not only because the failure would cause him to go into bankruptcy for the second time in under 10 years, but also because his wrestlers will be blackballed from wrestling. Hogan once explained that he had the thought, "This guy's crazy. This guy's going to piss everybody off in all these little territories. Vince is going to get everybody so mad that everybody who works on the WrestleMania card will be blackballed. And if Vince fails, I'll never be able to go anywhere else and make a living." But the mainstream crossover garnered the attention of non-wrestling fans and wrestling fans, and it amplified the significance of WrestleMania, which resulted in 19,000 fans showing up to Madison Square Garden and nearly 400,000 people watching at various event venues. Present day successes. Fast forward to present day, and the WWE stands as a global phenomenon. Let's take a look at some of the greatest successes. In 1987, McMahon's WrestleMania 3 became and remains one of the most iconic events in WWE history as the most attended indoor sports event in history with over 93,000 fans in attendance. In 1992, the WWF Championship Tournament at WrestleMania 8 captured the WWF Championship and showcased the athleticism and storytelling abilities that the company is famous for even to this day. 2001, Vince McMahon purchased his longtime main competitor, WCW or World Championship Wrestling, and all of its assets, including its top stars. In 2014, the company launched its streaming service, the WWE Network, which offered thousands of hours of archived WWE footage, live pay-per-view events, and original programming that couldn't be seen elsewhere. Even in 2020, the company continued to provide weekly quality television during the pandemic by introducing the Thunderdome, a virtual arena with live fans reacting via streams on LED screens. In 2023, WWE and UFC merged in a $21.4 billion deal to become TKO Group Holdings. Even in 2025, the company is already set to partner with Netflix, which will serve as the main home of WWE Raw and premium live events such as WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and the Royal Rumble, as well as WWE documentaries, original series, and forthcoming projects. With a massive international fan base, successful partnerships, and groundbreaking events, McMahon has transformed the company into a worldwide entertainment powerhouse. The fall of Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Few success stories are without controversy. McMahon's fall from grace involves allegations, lawsuits, and public scrutiny. McMahon has faced things like the steroid trial, the World Wildlife Fund trademark dispute, the 2007 Chris Benoit tragedy, the class action concussion lawsuit, and the 2022 hush money scandal. But nothing compared to what he's facing today. The end for McMahon. In January of 2024, a federal lawsuit was filed against Vince McMahon stating allegations of sexual harassment, sexual assault, sexual abuse, and trafficking. Janelle Grant was an employee of the WWE for about a year starting in 2019, during which time she was forced into a sexual relationship with the former chairman of the board and forced to engage in other sexual activities with other WWE employees and superstars such as John Laurinaitis. Grant mentioned that McMahon shared her nude photos with company staff and forced her into aggressive physical situations. She goes on to allege that Vince included her in a deal to sign former UFC fighter and WWE talent for whom she was forced to create personalized sexual content. According to the lawsuit, if this particular star, who many believe is Brock Lesnar, returned to the company, he, being Brock, would have access to Grant in the same kind of way that McMahon himself had access to her. Grant is claiming violations of the Trafficking Victims Prevention Act, negligence, silver battery, and other allegations in relation to alleged sexual and emotional abuse at the hands of McMahon under the knowledge of the WWE. Now, I won't go any deeper into the details of Grant's allegations, but they are foul and they are visceral. Is there any coming back for McMahon after this, or could this really be the end for Vincent Kennedy McMahon? What a shame it is to build such a global corporation just to have his legacy burn in a shameful downfall.